righty, well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Oh yeah, there we go. We got a little bit of the squeal. That was important. So welcome to day 2 of the Gamification Summit. I'm Nicole Lazzaro, and I'm going to be your guide for a quick tour through the science of fun. I don't know if everyone should have one of these little game cards so you can kind of follow along. We'll be doing some fun things with that today. So let's get going. So this talk here is about the science of fun, or 3 ways that games can make us happier. And I don't know if I can get video down on this computer monitor in the front, but that'd be super awesome if we could. Otherwise, we'll just keep going. So this is we're going to talk about 3 ways that games can make us happier and save the world. So first, a little microsecond about myself, Nicole Lazzaro, and my company Xeo Design, Xeo Design. I've been running Xeo Design for the past 22 years, and we've improved over 1 billion player experiences. So we are a consulting company, and we come in kind of like Sherlock Holmes and make something. Instead of finding out who did it, we kind of make something, we find where's the fun, or where is not the fun. We've worked with in industry like with EA and Sony and Ubisoft. And we've also done work in the corporate world, like Oracle and Cisco and Kaplan, as well as governments such as the White House. And for the past 10 years, hundreds of thousands of people, developers, designers, have downloaded our model, which is called the 4 Keys to Fun. How many people have heard of the 4 Keys to Fun? Okay, great, cool. Well, we're not going to talk too much about that today, so that's awesome. And then lastly, we've got our game Tilt World, which won an award at the last year's G Summit Award. Won an award, and we've planted, players have planted 16,000 trees, and we think that's pretty awesome. These trees have been planted, real trees, in the island of Madagascar. So what I wanted to do is to start off with where we are in terms of happiness. I think everybody has Everybody here, I believe, has a dream. I know I have one. Something that you've always wanted to do. And so what I'd like you to do is to take a moment and write the words, describe the dream that you have, something that you've always wanted to do, something that would really make you happy, on the front of the card. And during the course of the talk, if you want to tweet your dream with the # G Summit and the Nicole Lazzaro, you will win a prize. We'll do a drawing and we'll win a prize at the end. So everybody has a dream. Love you to write that down. And then everyone also has been disappointed at some point in time. And sometimes the disappointments, the emotions from disappointments, get in the way of us achieving our dreams. And what can happen on the biological level is many things. But I'm just going to call out one of the neurochemicals, which is cortisol. And basically with cortisol, your survival is threatened. It feels really bad. It's a seeking thing. What compels you to go forward. And for some reason, the world can't meet your needs. And that gets in the way. That's not fun. Happiness also has a couple of problems. The first one is that sometimes, there are things that feel really, really good, like a nice big piece of chocolate cake or those cupcakes we had yesterday, but they're kind of not so good for us, right? And then on the other hand, there's stuff that would be really, really good for us to do, but we kind of feel bad or don't want to do it. So we have that, the first quadrant and the fourth quadrant sort of problem here. The second problem is that emotions are fleeting. So the feelings of emotions, the feelings of happiness, they come and they go. And that's actually how emotions are designed to work, right? Because you see a berry, you eat a berry, and then you feel good, and then you should stop feeling good, so you go and seek out another berry. So we constantly are going through these cycles, which could be kind of tiring as you get older. So we have those two problems. Now, wouldn't it be great if we could do something about that? Well, there is also this third problem, is that the part of the brain that's responsible for thinking, remembering, for making all of those decisions, for assessing the world and assigning meaning to it, your cortex, your outer brain, has nothing to do with the actual feeling of happiness. For the feeling of happiness, we have to go to the limbic portion of the brain, the amygdala, the hippocampus, and that sort of thing. And that's where the feelings are. And the real bummer part is that they are not on speaking terms. So language and thought and cognition and memories, they don't really go into the limbic system, right? So you can't just tell your limbic system, say, hey, let me be happier today. You have to figure out other ways to do it. So I was thinking about this, and I was wondering, is there a way that we could game the brain? So what if we could solve these three problems with a game, or maybe a set of games? And that's what the talk is going to be about today. So I owe a great debt to Dr. Loretta Garanzo-Brewing and Dr. Paul Zak. These guys have done some really interesting work on the relationship between neurochemicals and actual activity. So taking it from the inside, the chemicals that are responsible for our feelings, and taking it outside into the world to what we could do or what some sort of behaviors. So I've taken some of their recommendations and then looked at that to us, distilled it, so we've got three kind of guidelines that we can use for today. So the first one is this lovely set of chemicals here. These are all, we've got dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphin. And we're going to talk about the first three of those today. We won't have time to go into the fourth one. But I like to think of them as our happy chemicals. And they all have a unique role in the body, and they all feel good. And they feel good in different ways. And that's really nice, because if you feel good this way about this something, and then this way, if you feel good about this other something, this other way, then, going through your day, you're kind of on this, instead of one roller coaster where you're constantly going up and down and up and down, you have this a little bit more of a rhythm going between these different chemicals. And conveniently, it makes this nice acronym called DOSE. So I like to think of it as getting our daily dose of these happy neurochemicals. So we're going to figure out a little bit about how to do that today. So we're going to look at some very simple games towards ways that you can gamify that dream you just wrote down on the back of your card. For those of you coming in, you should get one of these little cards. And you get to, and if you tweet about your dream, you get a prize. So this is a very limited edition chocolate bar from Bittersweet, Madagascan chocolate bar, very, very tasty for our winner. So we're going to do some simple games towards our dreams, and then we're also going to simplify the science. So let's get started. So as you see here, we've got a model of the 4 keys to fun on the right. And so essentially there are 4 types of fun. There's hard fun of challenge and mastery. There's easy fun of exploration, role play. There's people fun of there's people fun of competition and cooperation. There's serious fun of changing yourself and changing your world. And then we have these neurochemicals, dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, which I've simplified the science for so that we can kind of make some games out of it. So these are sort of 3, confidence-boosting, social bond, mood-lifting things that we can do with our brains. So if we think about games and how they're fun, games are hard fun. There's that challenge, the goals and obstacles and strategies, that frustration that leads to fiero. Games are also fun in an easy fun, sort of novelty, exploration, creativity, and role play. People fun is about friendship and meaning, or friendship and meeting, and cooperation and competition. Serious fun is about meaning and real-world challenge. So people play games for different reasons. Sometimes they play for challenge, sometimes they play for friendship, sometimes they play just for the sheer novelty, and then sometimes they play for meaning, to change themselves and change their world. If you want to find more about this, you can download the free white papers and posters at 4k2f.com or at zeodesign.com. So the neat thing for today, though, is to remember that each of these are different types of fun. We measured emotions on people's faces. So we were measuring the automatic facial changes that were happening during play. And we'll have them, and so then what we can do is we can correlate these two. So let's jump into the first one with a story. So dopamine, how many people know what dopamine is? Yeah, how many people are using it sort of right now in like a reward system or something like that? Yeah? How many people are put in a bunch of incentives into their gamification plan, and then they found after a little while it attenuated and fell off? Yeah, I've seen a couple nods there. Right, yeah. So that's one of the interesting properties about dopamine. Dopamine really is about the anticipation of a reward. And that reward it's also cues in the brain to think about something that's new and novel. So when you rely on this a lot, you can, like if you're awarding a lot of badges, you have to keep making the badges more rare, more interesting, you have to keep climbing, in a sense, climbing this hill. Well, for me, when I wanted to game this, is that the first way games can make us happy is that we can use them to create small goals, small goals for that dream. And in creating those small goals, I like to tell a story. I run on trails, and there's this trails in the East Bay Hills where it's got like a 1 mile incline for about 800 feet. So it's a pretty steep grade, 800 to 1,000 feet climb over the course of a mile. And that was pretty daunting for me, but I wanted to do it. And so what I said to myself, okay, well, I'm just going to run until I'm tired, and then I can walk, and I'm going to be okay about that. I'm just going to note where I walked. I started to walk, and then I'll finish the run, come back. And then I'm going to come back the next day, and then I'm going to go 100 meters further. So I came back to the next day, and I ran 100 meters further. And I said, okay, good job. But don't criticize myself, don't bring myself down. Just reward myself and say, note and move on. So yes, I did it. And what I found is that each day I could move that point up. In fact, it only took me about 4 or 5 days until I was running that full mile uphill, like a mile uphill all the way. And at that point, I realized that it wasn't really the hill that was the problem. It really was the fear of the hill. It was the fear of running out of breath. It was the fear of getting too tired. It was the fear that I couldn't do this. It was like looking it up there, and it was too big of a Godzilla. I could not run that possibly. And so what happened is that there's this. I was able to just sort of turn that into a metaphor for the rest of my life. In a sense that just by breaking things down into small goals, achievable steps, and moving through them, I could gamify, if you will, that run. And each time I recognized that, I knew that I didn't have to run the whole hill. I could just run just a little bit more. I set myself another small goal, and then as I achieved them, I felt more and more confident with being able to run in trails. And now I take on hills, I take on all kinds of crazy stuff that isn't even having anything to do with running, just because I had that experience, and I can use that to train or retrain myself. So finding daily celebrations, at the end of the day, even if it's a small accomplishment, getting into that habit is a great way to hack, really great way to hack your brain, release a little bit of dopamine and move forward. To find that in game parlance, you go ahead and on your card draw a line between dopamine and hard fun, and then between dopamine and serious fun. So if you look at the model after this talk, and you'll find some mechanics on the model, and you'll be able to brainstorm, if you want, different ways of creating dopamine using these tools of hard fun and serious fun. Asana is on this. How many people have seen the unicorn in Asana? Is it task tracking software? People, anyone seen that? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, so this is like the little unicorn celebration. So when you check off a box, on occasion, not always, but sometimes you get the unicorn and a random, encouraging message. Like this one is awesome. So I'd like you to now take a look at just flip your card over and maybe just write down a quick note to yourself. What would be one step, on that hill towards your long-term goal? What would be a one-step thing that you could do right now, or maybe not right now, but maybe tomorrow or after this conference, on the back of your card that could get you towards your dream? And again, if you want to enter the contest, you can tweet your dream, and I will be picking a random one. Okay. So that's the first one. So the first step, the first way games can make us happy is they help us, achieve a small goal, and we can actually, if we do that on a daily basis, we can, get unstuck on a longer-term thing, in a longer-term project. The second one is kind of fun. I'd like everybody, we're kind of not too spread out, but I'd like everybody to really quickly hug or shake the hands of some person that's next to you. Okay, you got about 10 seconds to do that. Say hi. Give him a big hug. Yeah, I like these hugs. These hugs are good. Pat him on the back. Give him a little shoulder rub. Something like that. Yeah? Little high five. All right. Okay. Okay, now as you settle back into your bodies, do you feel any different? Do you feel? So what kind of feelings do you feel? A little happy? Yeah, a little happy, right? Wow. That's kind of fun. All you did was just say hi to somebody, you pat them on the back, you touch them, you give them a hug. Well, that's a bit of a game. Can we make a game out of that? That could be really interesting. So what you're feeling among many, many chemicals, one is oxytocin, and oxytocin is often called the cuddle hormone. Basically it reduces fear. It acts on the amygdala to reduce fear, which is awesome. And it amplifies, the in-group and the out-group. So we've considered ourselves all, people that are really interested in games. So we're in the in-group, and it amplified feelings of friendliness. It can also, it can also amplify the feeling of strangeredness as well. people out in your out group. But touch amplifies social bonds. That's why people tell me when they play, our game Tilt World, if you're petting the iPhone, it makes you happy, right? And it's just because that's social gesture. If you do the same gesture on the back of my hand, you better be on a date, right? Because those social gestures are so strong. So those are all great, and they create trust. The role of oxytocin is to create and amplify trust. So we create a trusted group to ensure our survival as a species, and you feel good because of that. Other ways to trigger it are hug. You can hug people, you can sing, and you can dance together. Dancing together and moving together is a great way to get another dose of oxytocin and to feel happy. It really, in the end, you want to feel this strong sense of connection. So if you look at your card for a minute for some game design tips, draw a line between oxytocin and people fun. There are more emotions in people fun than the other three combined. And we get this lovely interaction between them. There are lots of, if people playing games in two different rooms have less emotions than people playing the same game in the same room. It's really, really, really interesting. So I'd like to play, the next slide is I'd like to play a video. This is a guy who plays Candy Crush, and this is kind of why. And I want you to notice, listen to why he's playing and how does that affect him.
And so I think you just remember the time with and it's usually a good memory. People forget the bad memories so quickly. So it's usually a happy, pleasant memory that, from an old friend that it might last 5 seconds or 5 minutes, but if it's something like on the way to work, if I'm doing it in the morning and I see that right away, it changes my outlook for the day, because I'll have that good memory to start my day. And so that changes my whole broad outlook on the way I interact with people and treat people as I go.
So is he under the influence of oxytocin? He plays Candy Crush on the way to work as he's walking to work, and then he sees little messages and gifts from all of these friends, and he intentionally uses that as a boost to get him started with the right mindset for his day. Pretty awesome, huh? So this is another app called Couple, and has anybody ever thumb kissed? Thumb kissed? So in Couple, you download it on your iPhone, I think it's on Android too, and you kiss with your thumb. So it's maintaining relationships over long distance. So you put your thumb down, and then your partner puts their thumb down on their phone, and then you play this game of tag, and then if the thumbprints overlap, then you kiss, and the screen goes red, and and then it vibrates. It vibrates, right? And the vibration's key because what happens is that, to maintain high oxytocin over time in a relationship, the research is saying is that touch is really important. So cuddling and touching and eye gaze too with your partner is a way to kind of keep the romance going. So maybe they need an eye kissing thing for Couple as well. I don't know. Back to the dream part. If you wanted to write a friend or a partner's name on the back of your card, and this is we're talking about oxytocin. So is there some role in this game you're designing along your dreams that friend could play? So is there a way that they could encourage you or connect and earn your trust? The idea behind oxytocin is that you're cuddling and you're stroking means that I'm not going to hurt you, I'm not going to eat you. In fact, we're feeling really good and holding each other's hands and stuff like that really makes it special. So that's connecting and trust and reciprocating. The next one is a little bit different, also social, but a little different. It's called serotonin. Originally pulled from the blood to think of serum and tone. It gave good blood tone is where the name comes from. And it's about social dominance or hierarchy. So we all know Schadenfreude, for example. We all know that it's fun to compete with friends, fun to beat your friends. And the serotonin's role is it expresses dominance. And everybody feels a little good if they're in some part of the social hierarchy, right? What you might not know is that 80% of the serotonin is actually in your gut, produced in your gut, and it's all about food. And so social dominance, at least in this particular, along this path of research, is that really it's all about we're social animals, and so if I have a high enough hierarchy in the group, in the clan, then I'm going to be sure that I can access food. But we can think of it more about as recognition or respect from your peers, and that's what gets you, from those you admire, that's what gets you going. And you can express pride and reciprocate. Very tricky to do, because if you came into work and say, hey, I did a great job on my report yesterday, and you did that every day, people are going to go, ugh. But if there is some game you can play with someone that you trust, where you can reciprocate, then you can feel this, this sense of an enhanced sense of accomplishment. So it isn't just getting a badge from a computer. It's not getting just a points or an A on a or perfect score from on a test. It's really somebody else has to that you respect. Chances are they're higher in the hierarchy for you, and than you, and then you're pulling them. And they are in a sense pulling you up. So getting their respect, earning their respect, that feels really, really good. It's very tricky to get at in a game-wise, but we can try it. So serotonin really comes from people fun and then also serious fun. So it's the accomplishment, and it's that accomplishment recognized by a peer or by someone you respect. The hard fun of mastery, the fear of that, yes, I got it. That's personal triumph or adversity. You don't know anyone. Nobody else needs to see that. For serotonin to work, you need to have someone there. I got a crazy. This one is kind of a crazy example. How many people have looked at Tinder? So Tinder is a online hookup app, right? And all you're doing is you're thumbing left and right, or you can use the buttons like, I like this person, I hate this person, I hate this person, like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. It's kind of a fun game. It's a fun judgment game. And then, of course, the fun on your side is that if lots of people like you, of course, you get that score and those points, then that feels pretty good, too. So for the game, for this dream game, then, is like, how can we share your accomplishments? So what can you do to look at, or who could you buddy up with so that you could come in and check in with about your progress along the way? And it's usually best for someone that you admire. And then the last thing I'd like to do is to talk about the other effect about simply being world change agents. So the other place you can get serotonin is, of course, on Facebook. Facebook's very addictive, and so you have to be a little bit careful about this because it's random. It's slightly randomized. Like, I'm not sure if I'm going to get a like today, or I'm not sure if my post is going to go viral today, and so that can get into a stimulus response reward loop type of thing, which could be a problem. But one thing that can be good is that if I like to take Facebook and then sort of be aspirational with it. So lifting the mood of other people, or lifting my mood, or talking about world change. This was in response to some bad stuff that was going on online, and I was just giving people an encouragement to think about, remember, all right, there is all this bad stuff happening, but then there's also things that you can do to make things good, so that you can be a game changer on yourself. And I think that's a really good metaphor for the talk and what we're doing today. In that you can be your own game designer, and you can take things into your own hands. So you can do that with these goals, basically by creating goals, connections, earning respect, and saving the world. And if you can complete all those things together, it's a really handy format for creating happiness that you can sustain over time as you play this game to achieve your goal, which is that dream. So I don't know if anybody tweeted. Did we have anybody tweet on this, Rebecca? Yes. Okay. All right. So we have just a minute a couple minutes to do that. So Rebecca has been doing some great stuff. Oh wow! All right. Okay. So I'm going to pull a random tweet for this chocolate bar, and we're going to go for a little bit of recognition at Justin Stein. Here. All right. Great. You get the bar. All right. So round of applause for Justin. Awesome. This is really great. Great. So you can come up afterwards, and we can give it to you. So that's pretty much it. I'd love you to think about how you can hack your own life in these little tiny ways to create your own games. And of course, if you want, and you can make, and then think about then as you go to your work, how can those little games that you're playing on your websites and in your services, how can you take those and make everyone around you and your customers happier as well? So thank you very much.